Burbex.
I don't know what she's staring at. Hi, welcome back to Burbex, Brin's Urban Exploration. Today we're going to be combining two of my favorite things in the world. Number one, Urbex. We're going to be exploring this abandoned coffee house here in Shanghai. And the second thing is coffee. I love coffee. I can't get through the day without a cup of coffee. I'm going to be telling you all about Chinese coffee culture. Yeah, that's actually a thing. Don't forget, if you love urban exploration videos with a China twist, be sure to hit like and subscribe. And when you subscribe, don't forget to ding, ding, ding that bell for great new videos from Burbex, Brin's Urban Exploration every week. Let's go. This is the coffee bar itself. You can see there's lots of things left behind. What's this for? Is that for cold press? I'm not sure how that works. That's a small baijiu bottle. Baijiu is very strong rice wine. Oh, here's Maltai as well. And this is the most famous rice wine. You can see 53% alcohol. This was actually Chairman Mao's favorite drink, which is why it's so famous in China. It's 53% alcohol, and Chinese people get absolutely wasted on this stuff. Ironically, if you go over into Hong Kong people don't drink this. They kind of look down on mainland Chinese people, saying that this is a peasant drink, and Hong Kongers only use it for cooking. The only thing this is good for is stripping paint. Can you see this? The floor is super slippery. Maybe there's some kind of silica gel there? Well, that's weird. Got to be careful. You can see that the style of this coffee bar borrows a lot from the Japanese. Here's a dumb waiter, which takes the food and drinks up to the next level. Here we got Jia Sai Ma, which means grabbing wealth cat. You can see that here it's on its left-hand side. In China mainland, you see it's on the left-hand side, but actually if you go to Hong Kong, you see it's on the right-hand side. The left-hand side represents bringing in money, but the right-hand side represents bringing in customers. So we were just on the first level, and actually we're right next to a university, so a lot of the students would be coming here maybe to study for dates. It might be a little bit expensive for some of them, but up on the second level you've got more private spaces, more luxurious booths. Let's go and take a look at that. Maybe this little guy drank the cafe. Maybe this little guy drank the coffee here. You can see that these spaces are much more secluded. You could come here on a date, maybe a business meeting. This looks more like a banquet room. Even though this is a coffee shop, because this is China, you have to have banquet rooms as well. You can see this place was sealed up in Erling, so that's about 2 years ago. Then you can see we've got a VIP room. I like the wallpaper in here. And these are the call buttons. Oh, that still works. As I was saying, this is a very Japanese style coffee house where you would actually sit down, you pay a table fee, and then you sit here for a few hours. We can see there's actually three major phases of coffee in China. The first phase is the 1980s and the early 1990s. At that point, Nescafe starts to introduce instant coffee in China. And instant coffee is very, very popular even now in China. You can get big jars of it, but the little sachets of it about this big are very popular. When you go to second or third tier cities in China, this is still what you're given. And students basically live off these things. The second phase started in the late 90s. And in 1997, coffee shops like this started springing up all over China. The leader of these was called UBC Coffee, which is actually from Taiwan. In Chinese, their name is On the Island. I'm not sure why it's called that. Shangdao Cafe. I don't know why they call it that. This kind of set the foundations for coffee culture here in China. In places like this, you'd be actually drinking quite expensive ground coffee, things like Blue Mountain, for example, things which have been imported. At that time, there weren't really many choices of Chinese coffee beans. These days, there are more choices from Yunnan in the south, where they grow it. A cup of coffee in a place like this might cost anywhere between 40 and 100 yuan, which is actually very expensive for that time. Around that same time as well, lots of imported Japanese coffee starts coming in, which you could buy in the convenience stores. And it usually comes in cans like this. Canned coffee, very, very popular in China. This one I just bought from 7-Eleven. Let's give it a try. It's called Barista. I expect it's going to be very strong and very bitter. Let's give this one a go. Very strong, very strong. Drink some more of that later. So what you see is that if you go into convenience stores, you'll see lots of things like this, Nescafe in cans, smooth latte, things like that. And those have been popular since ground coffee kind of got introduced. But the game really changed in 1999, and that's when Starbucks entered the Chinese market. Its first coffee shop, let's say, was in Beijing, and that really changed how people consumed coffee in China. The way that people drink coffee has now changed. Now it's more like they go to Starbucks and small stores like that, where actually the coffee is relatively cheaper than somewhere like this, but maybe a little bit more crowded. But going to Starbucks kind of has a little bit of a prestige value. And you often see people carrying a Starbucks bag around with them, or maybe a Starbucks cup. And Starbucks has positioned itself differently as well. You often find it in office buildings, for example, or lots of tourist spots, so it has maximum exposure. And in 2021, Starbucks actually became the market leader and now has 31.5% of the coffee market here in China. UBC, which I mentioned earlier, has now fallen to about 21.5%, but it's still the market leader in second and third tier cities where you're less likely to find Starbucks. China actually has the second largest number of Starbucks stores in the world, with more than 5,000 across the country. Compare that to America, which has about 9,000 company stores and about 6,000 franchise stores. China has no franchise stores at all. Everything is centrally owned by Starbucks here in China. So what a Chinese Starbucks cup looks like. This one is Meisher Cafe Americano. Let's give it a go. It's much weaker than you would expect in a Western Starbucks, but it's still pretty good. This is my go-to cup of coffee. But for a cup of coffee like this is just a small one. This is 25 yuan, and they can go up to 50 or 60 yuan for some of the more interesting things. However, there is another way of drinking coffee, and places like 7-Eleven, KFC, and McDonald's, they all sell coffee here in China. This one is from McCafe. Normally this costs 14 yuan, but today I got it for just 8 yuan. This is marketed more for people who are on the run, who want to get to work quickly. It's much more smooth than Starbucks actually, and this one, in my opinion, is actually better value. The other thing that I love from McDonald's when you go to McCafe is this. The lemon lamington. I don't know if you've had this before. I love lamingtons. I think it's Australian. This is my breakfast today. That's delicious. It's so smooth inside. I've never seen Chinese people eat these things, but they're absolutely delicious. I'm going to get a massive caffeine rush soon. What you're going to understand, though, is that even though Starbucks is becoming more popular, because of the presence of 7-Eleven, of KFC and McDonald's, most people are consuming coffee. Most people aren't getting their coffee from Starbucks or Costa, for example. They're more likely getting it from these sources. In China, there's actually 7,900 KFCs, and a lot of people drink their coffee in the morning from there. Similarly, there's almost 4,000 McDonald's in China, and most people would be getting their coffee from there also. It's interesting to note that there's actually more KFCs in China than there are McDonald's, probably because Chinese people love fried chicken. Delicious. Oh, we've talked about the presence of coffee in China, but how do the Chinese like to drink it? Chinese people tend to like very milky coffee. They can't stand that bitter flavor. So lattes and cappuccinos are very popular. I spoke with a barista at Starbucks earlier and he told me about that. 你们的客人最喜欢的咖啡是哪种的？
客人大部分喜欢点拿铁，然后有些顾客比较喜欢点美式之类的。
啊，可是我发现在中国好多人他们不太喜欢喝浓缩或者美式咖啡，为什么呢？
中国人接受不太了浓缩那种味，浓缩可能太那个偏那个苦一点，有人接受不了。
You know, one of the most important things when you're exploring is keeping your identity a secret at the same time as keeping your face nice and warm. You can do all of that with the Burbex Gator. It's breathable, it's comfortable. Most importantly, it keeps your identity a secret. If you want to buy one, check it out in the link under the video. Even though it's popular for young people and middle-aged people to drink coffee these days, it's a very hard sell on old people in China. They will refuse to drink it. In China, there's an idea called Shanghai, which means like internal fire. To keep your body balanced, you can't eat too many foods which are huo. Huo means like fiery, it gives you a fire inside. And coffee is supposed to be very huo. If you drink too much coffee, you might get things like your gums start to hurt, your stomach starts to hurt, you might feel a bit jittery, and Chinese people try to avoid that generally. Green tea, on the other hand, has a similar amount of caffeine, but it doesn't have that Shanghai feeling. So generally speaking, older Chinese people would prefer to drink green tea instead. And that's why even at a place like this, you can still find tea. Of course, you need evaporated milk as well from carnation, and that's for making milk tea. Very popular here in China. You can see they've got some fake notes on the wall here. One way to test if it's fake or not is to rub your finger over Chairman Mao's shirt. If there's no ridges in it, then it's probably fake. Oh, look, here are the last inspection dates, 2017, 2018, 4 years. Hey, I just found some cigars. 3 of these, what are they called? Dannemann. Tobacco Excellence Craft. Does anybody know this brand? Dannemann Gold. Let's see if we can find a cigarette lighter. I don't normally smoke, and I especially don't normally smoke cigars, but for this I will give it a go. How are you supposed to smoke a cigar anyway? Bite off the end, right? What feeling are you supposed to get when you smoke a cigar anyway? It's quite smooth. Not really my cup of tea though. Since we're sitting here having a quick cigar and a cup of coffee, I'll show you a quick trick. This is a padlock. You see? This padlock locked up, right? How are we going to open this? What you need is 2 spanners. 1, 2. Put the padlock between the spanners like this. So it's wedged in shape like that. Can you see that? You got your spanners together like that, and breaks open the padlock. That is purely for educational purposes. I do not endorse breaking open padlocks to get into abandoned buildings. Not me. Smoking is a really obnoxious habit. I think it's kind of sad that this style of coffee house is dying out in China. I really enjoyed sitting in these places when I first came to China. It was the only place where you could get coffee. It's actually very comfortable, a little bit expensive, but very comfortable. It's kind of the end of the era for these places. Anyway, I got to get out of here because it's freezing in here and I got the coffee jitters as well. I drank Japanese coffee, Starbucks coffee and McDonald's coffee all together. I think I need to go and fill up my stomach a bit. Don't forget, if you love urban exploration videos with a China twist, be sure to hit like and subscribe. When you subscribe, don't forget to ding, ding, ding that bell for great new videos from Burbex, Brin's Urban Exploration every week. Let's go.